Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of Over the Top Talk. I'm your host, Owen, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Anthony. How are we doing today, Anthony?
Bro, we're doing beautiful. We're doing great. Beautiful day. So let's get going.
It's awesome to hear, and me and Anthony never, whenever we do videos like this, talking about WWE, we're usually never alone. And we've welcomed a ton of people on this podcast, but today we're welcoming someone new over at Ruthless Talk, Mr. James. How are we doing today, James?
What's up, my man? I am doing great, and I appreciate the invite, man. I'm ready to dive into some to everything that's wrong with WWE. So once again, I appreciate the invite.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
And just before we get into it, make sure to subscribe to Over the Top Talk and turn on post notifications. Also, on the bottom here, you'll see we're on Instagram, X, or Twitter. And TikTok is Odoggin16. You can find all our clips, content, whatever. Mainly active on Instagram right now. So if you're trying to follow, that's where we post pretty much everything and are most active. So obviously, this video is about, kind of talking about what's wrong with WWE. And to kind of start this off, kind of at the first little thing here, how do we feel about the current WWE product at the moment? And I'll start with you, James.
Ah, man, do I have to pick just one thing? But I guess if there's anything that I can really start off with, and I think I made a post about this of stuff that I would change as far as the product. And I think the very first thing that just comes off to me is that nobody in that creative writer's room is having fun writing these shows at all. Like it literally comes across when you see a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown. It's literally like, okay, what can we do that's the bare minimum just to get to the next show? Because of just how formulaic everything is and how everything that you saw last week is pretty much the same this week, to where you have, rematches, segments, and face to face segments that don't really hold any meaning or substance. So I just feel like it's just the effort as well as just the energy and the pulse. And it really starts with the start of the show, to where like every single, I can't stand it, every single start of the show, you have, who is it, Joe Tessitore, Michael Cole, whoever it is. We go back to Attitude Era, to where it was legit like a war zone, and you had Jim Ross like screaming into the microphone. Now it's just like Michael Cole just saying like, welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw, we're live in South Carolina, we have a great show for you today. And then everybody just shows up with their smiles and their coffee in their luggage, showing up to the arena. It's just like, you gotta switch it up a bit, man. Like the things that you're doing as far as what you are putting pen to paper have a place, but when you ram it into the ground, it just get repetitive and people just don't want to see it anymore. So, and as far as like, and I'll just leave it at that because I want to get your guys' thoughts as well. But it's just the energy, the pulse, and just nobody's just having fun in this company. And I feel like this company needs to go back to the roots of having fun instead of like, all right, we've already made this amount of money here, this amount of money here. Let's just hit cruise control to Survivor Series or whatever pay-per-view has coming up. And that's just how it feels.
And I'll turn to you, Anthony.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said there. Almost every Raw and SmackDown does feel completely lifeless. And obviously, I wasn't around to experience the Attitude Era, but I have gone back and watched some of the programming, and you can hear like JR and Jerry Lawler, like how much fun they were having on the mics,
Yeah.
even during like the Ruthless Aggression era, like they were having fun. And it does feel like now, ever since the first part I can think about that gets lazy is like the Judgment Day. If you remember, like every Monday Night Raw was like the same over and over and over again with the same main events, with like Sami Zayn challenging them every single week. And it's just like since then it's just felt like a lifeless show to me. I still watch every week because like I still have hope, because it's what I grew up on. Like I've been watching since I was like 7 years old. So like I have hope that it's gonna get good again. But like, and what you said about the creative room was like spot on. It feels like when they have something that's stuck at one point, they just recycle it over and over and over again to the point where it's just dry. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it comes to me about the current, WWE product, almost, the last couple weeks, I mean, I've kind of at this point, sad to say, I've kind of tuned out of SmackDown. I watch more Raw now than SmackDown. Um, Whether that's just, I feel like SmackDown lately just been the same thing, like you guys mentioned, very repetitive. Another issue would say I have right now is probably this new ESPN deal because, I personally don't even have I mean, I have an ESPN account because I watch UFC, obviously. But with the account I have, I think I have to pay like an extra 10 to 15 to watch WWE, and I really just am not going to pay for the product that we've been seeing. Especially, WrestlePalooza was kind of a failure. The last pay-per-view they just had wasn't terrible, but still not enough for me to actually want to purchase the show. And I think comparing, bringing up the Attitude Era is kind of perfect because that era was, amazing, lots of emotion. And I feel like we had that emotion a couple of years ago, like when Cody, beat Roman Reigns, but kind of over the past year or two, we haven't really felt that emotion in a while. Obviously, the champions are being kind of scheduled or kind of booked terribly right now. So we see a lot of the same matches, kind of like what's coming up with Cody and Drew. We've kind of seen that a bunch of times already. But I wanted to bring up kind of the man of, 2025, I should say, the man that's also retiring. That's why I came up with this little question here. Agree or disagree? The John Cena retirement tour has been terribly scheduled and booked so far. And Anthony, I'll start with you for this little piece I have.
This one is kind of difficult because the in-ring portions have been decent. John Cena's like his work has been good, but the idea of turning him heel was horrific in my opinion. The fans didn't want that. The fans wanted to see the old school, never give up, hustle, loyalty, respect John Cena. The crowd didn't want to be disrespected every week. They didn't want this lifeless, like you felt like how lifeless it was with him in there when he was heel, just disrespecting the crowd. Like, when he comes out, it's like the huge pop now. All the bright colors, all the amazingness, all that. It's just amazing. And that like brings back my childhood and millions of other people around and people who love Cena. So him turning heel, having like the stage just turn completely all blacked out and him walk out with like the belt turned around backwards and stuff. It's just honestly like it felt pretty lazy in my opinion, and it's just what's the way to say it? It was to turn somebody heel just to turn them heel, and it was the absolute wrong time to see if something was going to stick when somebody only has about he had 10 months at that point, and they wanted to see if something would stick, and they wasted 6 months of his retirement tour, which to me is an absolute, that's just disrespectful and rude to the fans because we're not dumb fans. We don't want to see that. And we know what Cena wanted to show, and that's not it. So that's just how I feel about it.
And James, I'll go to you.
I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been awful. It's been straight up awful. I mean, and Anthony, you said it earlier, like from the very jump, like I even said it back then, even during the heel turn, as good as the turn was, because you notice a lot lately with this company, that's what they rely on is the shock factor, which is what wrestling is. You want to have those moments that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. But if it's not following up to anything, which it clearly was never going to be such, then it doesn't matter. Then it's just going to become that light, that beacon light just becomes dimmer and dimmer, and it just becomes not really an afterthought, but it just becomes just worthless at that point. And I would have never turned John Cena heel. I think it was way, way too late. I mean, he should have turned heel probably several years ago, years and years ago. During his career at the time, if he wasn't going to turn heel now, then you might as well just keep him babyface. And the fact that when he won his 17th world championship, to where, forget the Travis Scott stuff because that's already awful, but I'm just talking him winning this championship as a heel. Like, that to me was so anticlimactic. And that right there from then on, it's just been awful. And it's not even John Cena's fault, to where he's doing the best he can to try to make it work. He's had his moments, and yeah, he's had banger matches, as we like to call it in this community. But, we want to praise AJ Styles and John Cena and the match that they had at Crown Jewel because they have history. I never, fellas, I've never have heard a promo from AJ Styles say, we don't need a storyline.
Yeah.
What the can I curse here, by the way? What the fuck are we doing?
I know.
Like, honestly, like, bro, it's just, when I heard that, dude, it's just like that, that was straight from who, Triple H, from a slap across the face to every single fan that said, hey, you're going to freaking watch this match. You're going to pay however much money it is on ESPN, and you're just going to like it because it doesn't need a storyline. And if you don't like it, then you can fuck off, because that's just that. Yep. And that's his words, by the way, not mine. So it's been awful. It's been awful. Listen, and even, I get it, people are going to blame The Rock because, The Rock wasn't there at WrestleMania. Well, the thing is, though, The Rock was never even supposed to be at Elimination Chamber. He was at Elimination Chamber, fellas, because they were not selling tickets. Nick Khan went to The Rock to be a part of the show because they were not selling enough tickets. That's why. And we all know that The Rock has all these projects and everything. And it was The Rock that wanted Cody Rhodes. He wanted Cody Rhodes to turn heel. So people blame The Rock like he's actually in control and he's in Gorilla because he's got this role with TKO. Like he's running stuff over. No, dude, it's Triple H making the final decisions. This was his experiment and it fell flat on its face, just like everything else that he has touched over the last 3 years. So, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, and just like you guys mentioned, when, they turned John Cena heel, it kind of made no sense, to be honest, at the end of his, end of his career at this point, turning him heel, especially the way they did wasn't terrible, but then they just continued to just kind of fail him, especially in some of these matches he had. Could have been so much better, could have made, way better storyline, I guess. But I guess I could say another issue, with turning
can I mention
of,
this too? Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to also bring this up too, to where a lot of people, and this is the last thing I'll say about Cena's retirement tour. It's just it irritates me because people, they put that match with AJ Styles on such a pedestal. I mentioned this on a show. Maybe you guys have seen it, maybe you haven't. In a review show for Crown Jewel. I'm just like the match between AJ and Cena, was it good? Yeah. People are talking about it's match of the year. I'm like, bro, they hit a bunch of other finishing moves and everybody just kicked out of it. It was a finisher. It was a finisher frenzy of a match. And we're going to put that up with especially what the ladies have done this year and a bunch of what the heck are we on about? And people are saying oh, the story writes itself because it doesn't need a story. Okay. What about the match with Brock Lesnar? Are you going to tell me? And we shit all over that for justified reasons, by the way. But we're going to shit over Brock and we're not going to shit over how we got to this match with Styles. Come on, bro. We're missing the plot, man, honestly. So that's where, again, man, just how we are not holding this company accountable because of maybe there's certain superstars that we like and we don't like, again, for justified reasons. But to me, we're not holding this company accountable enough because we are paying triple the amount of money to watch this product and we're just getting less and less in return. So, and that's it.
Yeah. And, one of my biggest, one of the weirdest things I saw, when they were turning Cena from heel right back to face, is it kind of just took maybe I think it was 2-minute promo maybe went with Cody Rhodes and he randomly just flipped back to a face, which I kind of didn't understand at all why they went that route.
And the face turn was so freaking anticlimactic too. It's just okay, we know that this heel run is not going anywhere, so let's just cut a promo that that's the payoff for the face turn. That's how much Triple H is so inept because we have no idea what we're doing. So that's the face turn, and people are just wait, what? That's how you turn a face? That's when you know just how bad it is because of this. Everything is like throwing baloney at the wall to see if it sticks, and that's just how it comes across to a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad, we kind of mentioned this heel, face dynamic, because that kind of brings me into the next talking point I kind of have here. And it's kind of, what is the deal with, WWE having these heel versus heel slash face versus face matches that we continue to see? And, we have a match like this coming up in literally a couple of days with CM Punk and Jey Uso. That promo the other day was, god awful. The 12 minutes of them saying nothing to each other, which is another issue with having two faces, with each other, facing each other, is there's really no storyline, and it's really just a lazy way to kind of, I don't know if they're trying to sell tickets because they're trying to get, fans to go because CM Punk's probably going to take this. Wouldn't even be shocked if they give the win to Jay this Saturday, but I really hate this, new kind of dynamic we've been seeing for quite a while now. I've seen it. We see these heels going at it, faces going at it. James, how do you feel about? Because I actually made this question because I know I see it a lot in your stories. So I was like, why don't I just bring this topic to this video? How do you feel about these heels going at it and these faces going at it?
I can't stand it, bro. It drives me nuts. Like the fact that we are placing these talents in the worst positions possible. Like you have two heels to where like the job of a heel character, right? Like what's the job? Like we really want to dissect this to where their job is to collect heat, right? That's their job. And you can't do that when the person across from you is trying to do the exact same thing. We look at the baby faces, right? We look at, and even I would even dissect this. This was, I think, WrestleMania 6, Ultimate Warrior, and I think it was Ultimate Warrior. Was it Hulk Hogan, I believe, or something like that? In a WrestleMania match, it was two baby faces, right? Like, even though, yes, it worked out, and yes, it was a great match, and it was memorable, but you kind of had a weird feeling of how the crowd was, because people's got to cheer more for somebody than the other, right? So you putting two baby faces in a match to where it's not benefiting the other face that's getting out cheered by the other face who's just a bigger star. So like it's an unnecessary position to put these talents that does not benefit them at all. Like Rusev, dude. Rusev and Dominic are wrestling one-on-one matches. We're just throwing people because they don't. And listen, who is Triple H and these suits and ties? They don't care because everybody is over, right? Like we like to use that term. They're over with the live audience. Newsflash: everybody is. But the problem is that we only look at that microcosm of what makes a good wrestling show. Yes, you have to pay attention to what the crowd is telling you, but the people at home, they're watching this and they're like, what are we doing here? I'm watching a heel and I'm watching a face and I don't know who to cheer for. I don't know who's who anymore. Like we're also getting Jade Cargill, who just turned heel. Carmelo Hayes just turned face. It's just like there was meaning to that as far as who was face and who was heel and when the turns happen. Now we're just turning people because we have no idea what to do with these. And that's the shock factor. And once that's done, once that turn, that steam is done, they don't have anything. And then when that's done, we'll just turn you back face or heel or vice versa. It's so stupid. It's not needed. And it just puts these talents in a horrible, horrible position to where they cannot flourish in their craft. And like we talk about CM Punk, we talk about, I think there was a tag match to where they had four baby faces in a main event. They had who was it? The Usos, they had LA Knight and CM Punk. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, does this, like, it seriously comes across as, I think, Anthony, you mentioned it earlier, like the word, it's lazy. It's absolutely so lazy. So where, the live crowd's just going to eat it up anyway. Who gives a shit? That's the problem. You're not letting characters stand out. And I'll make an example and I'll end it with this, right? I watched the movie Black Phone. Really good movie. And even the second one, I saw the sequel of it. Like the grabber, who's the antagonist, right? Like you knew, like how separating from, obviously, the kids who was Finn and Gwen, the brother and the sister who are the protagonists, and the heel, the bad guy, is the grabber. Like, it stands out to where they're both, when they tell a story, it's elevating the characters, because on one end you want to see these kids, overcome this horrible human being, which is a dude that just, kidnaps freaking children and other people and abducts them in a basement. But yet, like, oh, you look at a heel, right? We talk about cool heels. Well, James, they're going to get cheered anyway. That doesn't matter, though. You still have to give people a reason subconsciously to say, damn, I really like this heel. I really like how they stand out, but damn, I can't stand them. I want them to lose back. That's what it's about, man. Just because we like cheering for them doesn't mean that you need to make them likable. I'm so tired and sick and tired of making heels likable, like Seth Rollins' theme song for so damn long. He comes out to a song that people sing to and they pander to. Like, what type of heel are you? Like, Becky Lynch has been, like, freaking her wife, Becky Lynch, has been putting on better work as a heel than her husband. Like, it's just, we've lost the plot of what the foundation of professional wrestling is supposed to be. And that's where WWE needs to look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah. I agree with what he says there. And I want to touch on, before I start, I want to touch on what you said about Seth and Becky, which was smart, is how Becky changed her theme song to a song that's not really you don't sing along to that song.
Right,
You don't sing to that at all. There's no catchiness to it, which is good.
Absolutely.
But I can't stand it either. It partially, what I have to say about it is, when you have heel versus heel and face versus face, it kind of, like I said earlier, takes the life out of the crowd and takes the life out of the show. Like, you don't have a right or a wrong person to cheer for in a face versus face match, or a right person to boo for in a heel versus heel match. And that kind of takes away one of the main dynamics of wrestling, which is the babyface who is supposed to conquer the big bad heel, which we've seen through, like, Cena's entire, career, for example. Um, the person that I do love the most right now would probably be Gunther, because I think he's, like, actually a really good heel. He gets heat, he bullies his opponents in the ring, and people boo him. And I think him and Becky Lynch are probably the two people that are the best at getting heat with the crowd right now. Like, nobody else is really decent at getting heat. They're trying to turn Dom face at this point because he's so likable. This is what they also tried to do with Karrion Kross before he left. Karrion Kross was a heel. He was getting over with Sami Zayn, so they wanted to make him likable. And it's just, that's what kind of ruined his career and his character. And I feel like that's just laziness. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was way better as a heel. Him being that tribal chief character, when he was taking out everybody, he became so likable that they turned him face. And it's just lazy, in my opinion. Like you said, like we said earlier on, the creative room just does something to get a reaction, and it's just, at this point, it just seems like they're just doing anything at this point to get any bit of money, any bit of grabs, and it's just obnoxiously annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another issue I kind of wanted to add here, because we see it a lot, with the current product, and it's kind of the talent misusage problem that we have, where talent isn't booked correctly, and wrestlers aren't brought up to the main roster when they really should be. Wrestlers such as Oba Femi, I think, should have already been brought up. Honestly, think he should have fought Sami Zayn in one of those matches. And when we're talking about, talent not being used correctly, I think a nice example would be LA Knight, kind of going back to 2023 when he was, the runner up. We all wanted him to win that Money in the Bank, and then he just, lost. And then from there, Triple H hopped on a press conference, and I honestly forget what he said, or good things come to people that wait. Yeah, is that what it is?
There you go, man. Yep.
And we're in 2025 now. It's been about 2 years since then, and we haven't seen really anything with LA Knight. Yeah, he might have took out Seth Rollins at that weird Saturday night's main event where Seth Rollins got injured, but and he's kind of been in the world title mix, but not really at the same time because he's kind of more of a side character to Jey Uso and CM Punk at this point. And Anthony, how do we feel about
Yeah.
how some of this talent has been used? With some of the names that I've mentioned, LA Knight, and
Mhm.
people like Carmelo Hayes, Jade Cargill. How do you feel about the talent misusage that we've seen?
Well, starting off with LA Knight, I think one of the main problems that they did with LA Knight was, if you remember, they put him up against Roman Reigns in his like reign of dominance, and there was no way he was beating Roman at that point, and I think that was a severe, really mishap of what they did, because after that he won the US title, which to the fans is going to feel like a severe downgrade. And, that's just a main problem that they did with with all that. About the other people that are like really being misused, um, I know they were saying how Jade Cargill, they weren't using her much because she was, I don't even know, undeveloped in the ring, and her like ring craft wasn't amazing, but that doesn't matter. That they didn't give her enough time, and it's just like right now that she's starting to get her main kind of flourish in her push right now, turning heel. Um, Another person that I think is like severely misused, and like you said about the NXT call ups, is like, well, let me I'm like talking about two topics at once right now. Let me just do the NXT call ups. The problem with the NXT call ups, for example, and like you said with Sami Zayn, his open challenge, um, was having Ilya Dragunov win the belt off like right now. Ilya Dragunov beating Sami Zayn in the open challenge was a severe, that was like a missed call in my opinion. I think Sami Zayn should have kept the title until there was an NXT call up. There's many people that could have really benefited from that, uh, like Obafemi, like Ethan Page, like Oba. I'm Trick. I meant, but it's just severe like miscalls in the creative room. Like we've been saying, it's just it all goes back to Triple H in the creative room. Just everything he's doing, he doesn't know how to use talent. He only knows how to kind of book heels. He doesn't know how to book faces. He doesn't know how to book matches like that, and it's just lazy and horrible.
And I'll move to you, James.
I mean, as far as LA Knight is concerned, I mean, I said it back then in 2023, and I was freaking livid by it, to where like the dude should have won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they put it on Damian Priest. And I don't even think like the whole Roman match, honestly, was really part of, I guess, what was wrong about his booking. It was really because of the fact you push a guy like Damian Priest, who we all like Damian Priest, but
Mhm.
clearly like this dude was not ready for that championship, because he just wasn't as over as, I mean, like when we talk about, the crowd that watches from home and the crowd that watches live in attendance, like it doesn't take more than two freaking brain cells to think, okay, there's Damian Priest and then there's LA Knight.
Mhm.
Who should I give this briefcase and this rocket to that has it right now, like that is ready now? It's clearly was LA Knight, and they
Yeah.
give it to Priest, and you know why I believe this is because now look what Damian Priest is doing now. He's in the mid card right now. And now they want to put LA Knight in and around the main event scene. And it doesn't even matter at this point, because nobody cares about what he's doing, because every single week they'll have him talk this big game, and almost every other week, or if not every big time match that he has, he loses. So as that adds up, it's just like subconsciously you're thinking this dude's a loser. He's not going to win anything. That's what is killing LA Knight, and that's the issue with LA Knight. And people will say like, oh, him losing to Braun Breaker just this past Monday. It's just like, yes, losing to Braun Breaker is not going to ruin your booking, but
Mhm.
all of these losses that he has take adds up to where like when it's really, you're just digging more of a hole than anything, because it's this loss to Breaker, and then of course losses, freaking in the battle royal. And what's funny, right? And we know we've mentioned, Jey Uso, CM Punk in this matchup, right? Which, Owen, you said earlier, it's like they spent 10 to 12 minutes saying absolutely nothing to one another, like legit nothing. And it's just funny that nobody wants to mention the fact that they have been planting seeds between LA Knight and CM Punk for weeks. So you would think that LA Knight would win this would win this freaking battle royal. Like if you're gonna do face versus face, which is already god awful booking, the only thing that makes somewhat sense is LA Knight and Punk. You've been teasing that. You've been like when Punk and LA Knight, they team together. That's the reason why you decided to put 4 baby faces in a main event, is because you're adding up tension between Punk and LA Knight, and we already know that Jey Uso is just, he's too busy recreating the whole bloodline story because we're so inept. We're just going to do the same thing Vince McMahon did 5 years ago, and we're just going to do it all over again because why not? It's just, and we talk about the talent in NXT, or actually I'll even go to the open challenges, right? Like Sami Zayn open challenges. It's like, oh, this was the open challenge is the best thing on SmackDown. I'm like, all right, it's been good wrestling matches. Like, is that what truly is the problem? Is just not enough good wrestling? Like, no, it's like the wrestling guys is not the issue. We know Sami Zayn can go out there and wrestle for 20 some odd minutes and do really good work. We freaking know that, but we don't care about what he is involved in. The dude, and honestly, dude, if I'm being honest with you, this is no shade to Sami Zayn. The dude is a straight up mid-carder. If this dude is not booked the way he was in the Bloodline, the only way that he could have won that world championship, because he's eventually going to win that world championship, by the way, it was when he was facing Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber in Toronto. That was it. But, the roadblock was Cody Rhodes, because obviously the plan was to give Cody Rhodes the championship. So we're trying to recreate this open challenge that John Cena created. We're trying to reenact the John Cena open challenge. We go from John Cena, because that's why it was so special. It was the name value, right? And then there's Sami Zayn. There's no comparison. That's why nobody cares. And then with Ilya Dragunov, right? It's just like, oh, Dragunov comes back and he wins the championship. Okay, guys, how many times have we seen champions have titles around their waist? And has that title around their waist made their booking any better?
No.
Honestly, no. So what's the point of having Dragunov have a championship around his waist, and he's going to have the same type of booking before he came back? Because that's what it's going to be. And they had the audacity, bro, to put mid-gym, I'm talking Jimmy Uso, mid-gym, in a main event with Drew McIntyre, and the appetizer was Dragunov and Aleister Black. Think about that. Aleister Black and Dragunov was the appetizer match for freaking mid-Jim Uso to wrestle Drew McIntyre. What are we doing? And we wonder why SmackDown has its lowest rating on the USA Network and in history. And slowly but surely, that's going to drop under 1 million. And we talk about, ESPN, we talk about Netflix. They're going to find a loophole and they're going to be gone. And the more bridges that WWE burns, they're going to have nothing left. And by the time that happens, they're probably just going to end up selling probably to Saudi Arabia. And that's when WWE is truly freaking is cooked. So.
Yeah. I actually, can I add one more thing really quick?
Yeah.
I want to touch on what you said about that LA Knight and like all that stuff. It's like they sacrificed an LA Knight push main event to pay off a Jey Uso storyline with Jim. Because he's getting on Jimmy Uso's nerves because he's turning more into Roman. And it's like you have LA Knight, who's been, what I like to say, is running in place for the give or take 2 years now. The only bit of light that he's really touched was him, getting the US title. So I don't understand why. Like, did LA Knight do something to Triple H? Like, did he hurt this guy, or did he do something to him?
And I'll answer that question for you, bro. He's just not one of Triple H's boys. He doesn't suck up to Triple H like other people freaking suck up to him like he's pop. That's the thing. That's the reason why Karrion Kross is the same way. R-Truth is the same way. They don't kiss his ass, bro. That's the thing. That's why there's just we talk about Vince McMahon having booking certain people, like having favorites. Dude, Triple H is the same way. He's a Seth Rollins guy. Right? He loves Charlotte Flair. He thought Vince McMahon loved Charlotte Flair. He loves Charlotte Flair. So that's just it, bro. He's like, LA Knight doesn't kiss ass the way a lot of other people in that locker room kiss his ass, man. And Triple H doesn't like that. And that's
Yeah.
it, man. So
Triple H is honestly a hypocrite. He's actually a hypocrite because he says he's so much different than Vince, and he claims he's like better than Vince, and like booking all this, like it was good at first, like it had that little span that was decent writing, and then it just completely fell downhill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the last kind of talking point I grabbed here is kind of me. How long do we think fans will put up with this? And I made this, and I know we're already starting to see it. Such as the example I'm going to use is tomorrow's show. I think
Yeah.
last year in the same arena, they said it sold out easily. I think it's like 99,100 seats. And I think for tomorrow's show, they were like struggling to sell it out. They're even like putting, I know they do this for like most shows now because they're failing to sell out crowds. They're kind of putting like, making it so you can't sit in certain sections, kind of shun them off. So it looks like
Yeah.
they're sold out, but they're just not showing it when, they have the camera view on. And kind of another thing with the ESPN deal I mentioned earlier. I know I don't have like the pass to watch WWE. I know a lot of fans are like me who haven't bought it either because of the product we've been seeing over the course of the last couple months. Not even WrestlePalooza. I think a lot of people kind of maybe unsubscribed after they saw it from their ESPN accounts when they saw that WrestlePalooza because of that mess that we saw. But Anthony, how long do we think it's going to take until, these crowds, I know they're starting to get lower and lower every single week. Like James said, the viewership's going to an all-time low week after week. How long do you think it's going to take till we drop, right below that 1 million viewership rating and, arenas like kind of not selling out barely, even selling tickets?
I think you're gonna notice it on the weekly programming from like tuning in on the TV wise. Because if an arena doesn't sell out, WWE will just buy the extra seats and they can say that they're sold out. So I think I probably give it about, I don't know, maybe after Mania, after this year's Mania or next Mania, where you're gonna really see the viewership start to fall off if we cannot get this product back to being decently watchable. Like SmackDown is a snooze fest. Raw is approaching a snooze fest. So if they keep on putting on crappy products and they keep on putting on sleeper shows that fans are just not grasping onto, they claim the IWC are the most toxic fans in the world, but we are the right fans. We say the problems that they have that the people in the arenas will not admit because they're buying the tickets, they're buying the shows. So yeah, I stand on what I say, 2-3 years until you really start seeing the viewership plummet to a point where it's never been before.
And James, I'll end with you.
Yeah, I mean, you notice, now more than ever, like, when they were selling out all these arenas, right? What over the last couple years or so up until this moment, you notice how they're not touting record sellouts anymore. They're not doing that because they're not selling out at all. They'll say it. They'll say like, oh, it's nearly sold out or whatever sold. Like they're not sold out. They're not. It's just but how long will fans put up with these issues? I don't know, man, because again, man, there's just WWE will find ways to where like there's still going to be people that are going to latch onto something, right? Or at least there's fans, even like a lot of us, right? To where when something does seem like this whole thing with when they did the promotional ad just recently for WrestleMania 42. I knew what that was, bro, from the beginning, bro. I knew it was, and even if it was, bro, even if it was something that was interesting, like maybe something part of a storyline or a faction, right? People were mentioning Andrade. I'm like all of that hype to watch a dude that was just with the company a month ago. And the dude was not doing anything. So what? We're gonna put him in a faction with a group of people like we haven't done that before with Andrade. We put him in like what is that gonna do for him? Same with Austin Theory. People thought, oh, it's Austin Theory, the Vision. People because they're wearing the suits and the dress shoes and all in the black and all of that stuff, right? Like again, guys, we've done everything underneath the sun with Austin Theory. We've made him a singles competitor. We put him in as a tag team with Grayson Waller. And now you want to make him the fourth wheel of a faction? And it's going to do what? That's a good payout. Like seriously, the standard in the bar, that's the problem. The bar for still a lot of people is still so damn low. That's the damn problem. The expectations right, are too freaking high, right? I have zero expectations for this company, but for what we are being asked to pay for, right, our bar and our standard is high. That's the difference. And, and like I said, I think you're already seeing it. I think you're already seeing majority of fans. I've never seen so many people on TikTok and fans who are, honestly, people who do defend this company 24/7. They defend the little things that they do. But now more than ever, you're finally starting to see those people who defend this company. They're going, yeah, this is not good,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, this is not TKO booking the shows. This is not TKO, right? It's like, oh, TKO is ruining WWE. No, dude, WWE is ruining WWE, right? Yes, I get it. TKO, of course, they're trying to maximize, a certain profit. They're trying to maximize, the of trying to price people out, right? It's like we're not maximizing to full potential, is what Mark Shapiro said. And because say what you want about Vince McMahon, right? He was a ruthless as they come as far as a business owner. There's no question. And we already know about what he did in the 2010s, right? The dude was already checked out. The dude was so checked out in the 2010s. I mean, if you go back and watch, like all three of us, I'm sure we're part of it, then we know. But man, like with Vince McMahon, there's one thing that he knew in business is that as far as you always find a way to make sure that people keep coming back and to make sure that people can afford to go back to these shows. And now under the TKO umbrella, now more than ever, it's just like, oh yeah, you can, save up some money over time. And then maybe next year's WrestleMania, no, maybe you could pay those, that $1,200, $1,300 for a ticket to come to a show. But outside of that, dude, Mark Shapiro is not in Gorilla. The Rock is not in Gorilla. There is not a TKO executive that is in Gorilla. The only person that is in Gorilla making decisions and making the final call is Triple H. And for some odd reason, there's still a bunch of schmucks that want to absolutely defend this guy. And it is ridiculous. And as long, guys, that still happens, then WWE is going to continue to get away with what they're doing because still there is not yet any accountability to what Triple H is putting pen to paper. I mean, you see it to where he's doing everything being on voiceovers, right? He's on the poster for WrestleMania 42. Where do you have the time, bro, to do this shit? People think do you also know how much time and effort and like just the travel that you have to do these things? It's a lot. It's a huge commitment. So like, where's that commitment in the writer's room? Clearly it's not. And like, we wonder why the product sucks because the dude at the head, right? Head of the table, no pun intended, doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He wants to continue to play, the performer. He's egotistical. He's a narcissistic egomaniac that can't get over the fact that he's no longer a competitor. And he wants to, and he doesn't, because he's upset because he's got the gimmick in his chest. He can't perform anymore. And, people already freaking, they bow down to his freaking presence because, freaking NXT, right? Black and gold. First of all, that was Dusty Rhodes in black and gold. Yep. Don't give me that crap about Triple H. Triple H was a small microcosm. Okay, I'll give you that. But the heart and soul of black and gold NXT, it was Dusty Rhodes. It was Shawn Michaels. It was William Regal. That's why Triple H was so damn successful. And now you're seeing firsthand how inept this freaking guy is. Vince Russo has even mentioned in the past. Vince Russo talking about creative ideas, that from DX and all the people from DX and the Click, right? Triple H had no ideas whatsoever. None. This dude cannot book anything out of a wet paper bag, let alone a Monday Night Raw and a SmackDown. Honestly, look, when you compare Vince McMahon and the height of Vince McMahon, I'm talking at his peak, compared to the peak that we think Triple H is on, fellas, it's not even close. And people say, oh, do you want Vince McMahon back? Hell no, I don't want Vince McMahon back. The company is better off without a McMahon in charge. That includes Vince. That includes Triple H. That includes Stephanie. That includes everybody that is a McMahon in that family. We need creative writers. We need people that are passionate, that care. Obviously, they understand the business, but they know what they're doing. And until that happens, man, because they're not going to listen. They've already told you how they feel about people, freaking the amount of dislikes that Jey Uso got on YouTube, right? And the people, Triple H has been on podcasts with Pat McAfee and how he feels about the fans. He's told you that. He's even said that as a performer. So until something changes at the top, then nothing's going to change. But now you're starting to see fans are just just sick and tired of it because the product sucks and it's not worth watching. It's not worth the money because, granted, because of how, again, the large margin of money that you have to pay for. But the question is like, but is it worth it? Good or bad, that's personal preference. But is this worth the time, the money, the effort to watch the show? Right? And WrestlePalooza and Crown Jewel were given examples. It was not. It was a glorified house show. And that's what these shows are going to continue to feel like until this company looks themselves into the mirror.
Yep. I do have one more thing I want to ask you real quick, James. And
Yeah.
how do you feel about this? Happened like a few months ago, but Nick Khan saying that people from the US and stuff are going to fly over to Saudi Arabia to, see all the WrestleManias and see the Royal Rumbles and all that stuff. And he said it like he was completely confident that he's like saying like he's talked to every wrestling fan and saying how they're going to make the flight and they're going to pay the money to go see those shows.
Oh, dude, I'm sure there's going to be some schmuck out there that's going to pay for a flight to Saudi and they're going to go to the show. There's absolutely no question. And that's the thing about, they cater to people that, as far as families, right? If you listen to the people in the crowd in attendance, it's all families, right? It's all kids, right? And that's why they freaking want to, pander Jey Uso's face everywhere and yeet for 20 minutes because they cater to kids, bro. They cater to kids because that is pretty much your audience. However, the people watching from home, they're not kids. It's an 18 to 49 demo, right? That's your main audience. And if you don't cater to those people, then that's why the ratings that you are witnessing drop. It's because that majority of your audience is turning away, but they don't care because those people, those kids, those families, right? There's a select amount of in that demographic that can afford it. So to answer your question, yeah, there's going to Nick Khan is, I'm sure he should be confident because I'm sure that there's going to be people that are not going to just pay for a WrestleMania ticket, but they're going to pay for a flight in Saudi and they're going to find a way to watch it. So I mean, yeah. So I don't. It doesn't shock me for him to say that because I did hear him say that. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously unfortunately, you see these issues continue to arise as WrestleMania comes back around. Even when they go to Saudi, I think for the Rumble, we'll see issues. Like I said, if I wanted to make this video like 3 hours long, we really could have with all three of us in
easily.
here. But shout out to James. He runs a channel just like us. James, where can the people find you that are listening on social media?
Yes, sir. So our podcast is called Ruthless Talk. So you guys can check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as our YouTube channel. I do want to give a shout out to all of our subscribers as we just hit 500 subscribers just this past week. So very, very grateful for that the channel continues to grow. As well as on social media, you guys can check us out on TikTok and Instagram. That is Ruthless_Talk for all of our wrestling content that is out there. So if you like people who are honest, if you like people that don't sugarcoat, then hey, we're the platform for you. If not, then may not be what you want to come across. But hey, I'm not for everybody, and not everybody's for everybody. But I'm very grateful for the platform. We started this over almost 3 years now, which is crazy. But yeah, that is where you can find us, and hopefully. Just again, also thank you to you guys as well for having me on, man. This was great. Shout out to my co-host Brian. Again, both me and him every single Friday we release episodes, as well as every now and then we'll release some PLEs talking WWE, some reviews. As we've made some changes because of talking about how bad the WWE product is, we've had to kind of go into a 180 of how we do episodes. But yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and of course, Instagram and TikTok, Ruthless_Talk is our social media.
Awesome.
Perfect. And for everyone watching, I'll add his links to the description of this video. Please follow me and Anthony on Instagram. That's where we're most active. You can reach out to us through DMs where we post all our reels. We're really active on Instagram. Once again, thank you for everyone watching from YouTube. This will get put on Twitter, TikTok as well, in clips. We're close to 200 subs. We've been grinding for a while. You'll see all of our new clips coming out with these UFC fighters. clips from this will be put on Instagram and Twitter as well. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you everybody. See you later.